the topic of the day is the Nature Boy Ric Flair just signing that multi-year deal with AEW. And then you're talking about, how they're going to use the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And Tommy, I love what you said. Man, imagine if there's a feud between Andrade and MJF and you're having just a promo battle between MJF and the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Like, this is one, we talk about fantasy matchups, right? On this show all the time. Like, imagine if you could take a great from one era and put them in the ring. We talk about like a Stone Cold Steve Austin and a CM Punk, like different stars from other eras, a Hulk Hogan and a John Cena. Well, when it comes to promo battles, can you think of a better promo battle than the Nature Boy Ric Flair and MJF, Tommy?
It'll be one for the ages.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you go think about what business did Nature Boy Buddy Rogers have to do with Jimmy Snuka? Like, what purpose did he serve? Nothing. But he basically
he's just there.
But he gave Jimmy Snuka that, hey, he's a babyface, he's going to be the guy, blah, blah, blah. If you really, think about that, he had his Rogers corner, but it really helped put Jimmy, though Jimmy I felt would have been skyrocketed anyway, but gave him that extra style and class that Jimmy, I guess, at the time needed. But I mean, he used to walk into the ring and those pictures, it was like, wow, he's hanging out with Nature Boy Buddy Rogers. It's the same thing that you have with Ric Flair.
Tommy, I think that's very important. It's something that I advocated, and I've been advocating for a minute. Every time that they are signing a veteran and somebody such as him, such as Sting, oh my God, there's so many. Dustin Rhodes, like, we have so many. It's like, use them to really catapult the new talent, because some of them, they're great in the ring, but we miss some things that we still haven't been able to like really grasp. And that's the kind of stuff that you're talking about, like the storytelling, just give them that little boost that's going to help them really define or redefine who their character is going to be for, futures. And they can become the future legends. I think this is, when we sign people like this, is very important that they're used wisely, because otherwise I feel like it's a waste of time.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Sting. I think Sting has definitely helped Darby and made Darby, it's Darby's work, but hey, this guy hangs out with Sting. I know what Terry Funk did for me and was just like, wow, Terry Funk chose Tommy Dreamer to be his mentor. And it helped. So if you take it like that, but with Terry could still go in the ring. So those are the keys when you do have, if they're going to be there as an advisor, cool. If they're going to be a heel, eventually that heel manager has to get hit. If that person can't get hit, or if that person can't take bumps, then make them a babyface. And, you could do certain things where, can you lay on the floor and we'll say you got jumped backstage to try to get sympathy on you if you're a babyface. So there's ways around it, but if you're a heel, if you're a heel, the heat has to go to your guys as opposed to the heat going on to you.
Yeah.
And I think both of you guys make great points. Thunder, you're right. If you're bringing somebody like that in, you better use them in the right way to really mentor the talent that you have on your roster, your younger talent. This is Nature Boy Ric Flair, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. And I think there's a lot of wrestling fans that share that opinion. And here he is in your company. Think about that. If there's a young NBA team and then the person that's going to be in the locker room to mentor them is Michael Jordan, I would hope that the players on that basketball team are going to listen to somebody like Michael Jordan, because the guy's been there, done that. He's the greatest of all time. That's the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He's been there. He's seen it all. He's been in any kind of big match, and he's battled in promos with the best of them. I mean, the guy, in my opinion, one of the greatest feuds, the Nature Boy Ric Flair and the American Dream Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
Like, he lived that. He was a part of that business. So to me, that's invaluable to be able to have somebody like that in your locker room.
It is. And he's so current with times, with like the energy drink. all his other ventures that he's done outside of
The
wrestling.
hip hop.
Rap. Oh my! I was just gonna say.
Yes.
Last time that he was on studio, I was going to rap. I was going to rap for him his song, and I was like, that's the kind of stuff. Everybody knows who Ric Flair is. Everyone, even the little kids right now, because of all the music, because I don't know, the weed, because of X, Y, and Z. So he's a very current individual, and like I said, I'm just very, very curious to see what he's going to be doing. I'm curious to drink the woo drink. And I am curious to see what storylines are going to put him in and see where this goes.
And AEW better be prepared for a lot of wooing now, and especially during chops. That's one thing that you brought to your company. But yeah, I mean, Rick is so very, very current. Rick, if you go to a Devils game, if you go to the Charlotte, Carolina Hurricanes, whenever they score a goal, it's the Ric Flair going, woo. I think they do it in Brooklyn as well for the Nets. It's, he's part of pop culture when it comes to that, when everybody knows what those woos are and who they are.
Tommy, did you ever want to be part of pop culture? Because I remember like last year when I was a champ, or even before, like that was one of my goals. It's like, I just don't want to be a regular wrestler. I want to be part of like pop culture. Like Rey Mysterio is. Like, you put the mask on. Like, I saw just a commercial yesterday about, I don't know, like some depression medication, and there was some guy dressed like a heavy set guy dressed up like Rey Mysterio, and I was like, see, like that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And
that was me.
No, that was not you.
Oh, okay.
That was not you.
Stop. No need to talk about bully. Listen.
Oh my God.
To answer your question, I've always lived in the wrestler bubble. I've done television, I've done movies. When I was younger, people like, hey, you're pretty good at this, you should think of it. But all I wanted to do was wrestling. And then I guess I changed the culture or the pop culture in pro wrestling with ECW. So I'm cool with that, because this is all I've ever wanted to do. Would I've loved to have done other stuff? Sure. But this has been my love and my passion since I was 10, so I'm cool with it.
Big show coming up tomorrow, obviously Crown Jewel. And a lot of times we talk about the Saudi shows almost like glorified house shows. Not the case with what we're going to see tomorrow on Peacock.
No, this is definitely the most organic to the week-to-week stories, to the full-time every week roster. This is not, this might be the first Saudi show. I don't have this stat written down, but I'm kind of going off my memory here. This might be the first show they've done in Saudi Arabia that doesn't have Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? So they normally go towards Brock, and this is all through the past 6 years. They go to Brock or Taker or Triple H. They go to somebody who is a part-timer or a one-off when needed for the marquee, and that just is not the case. I mean, they have Cena, but it's not. But John's been he's been on TV pretty regularly, so that doesn't even feel so much as a plucking of a part-time star. And again, I think Cena's somebody who you always, no matter how famous and great he is in Hollywood, he's always going to be WWE. He has that to him. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at a lot of matches here that are part of storylines that have been going on for weeks and months. So this really is a show in Saudi Arabia that is very much going to determine how do we progress towards Survivor Series.
Yeah, and you just said something very interesting and so true, Justin, because you always heard that they want the legends. We've seen them bring out Shawn Michaels out of retirement. We've seen The Undertaker. Like you see, we've seen Triple H. Like you talked about Brock Lesnar. This really shows, Justin, to me, why the WWE is firing on all cylinders, Justin, because the WWE is with their roster right now that you see week in and week out. The stars are the stars. You don't really need, and we said this about, last year's WrestleMania. I don't think you need to trot out the legends anymore when it comes to the WWE. They're giving you such compelling stories and matches, characters and personalities. I think the WWE has really turned the corner, Justin, when it comes to bringing back those legends of the past.
Well, I agree. I mean, but let me just looking at the depth that they have right now, and we can go from top to bottom. We can talk about depth in the mid card for. I mean, look, we have a fatal four-way coming up, I think, on Monday for who's going to be, Gunther's next challenger for this, historic IC title run, and they're building the tag divisions back up. But just look at the very top. Look at with Roman Reigns. I know 2 is not a high number, but when you look at it and you look at the energy that's there are 2 baby faces that the audience is debating over, but still has a thirst for to see dethrone Roman Reigns. The Cody Rhodes is still there from last year's Mania. It's not going to go away, and the whole finish the story. It's still there. Where it's going to go, we'll have to wait and see. But Cody's there, and now LA Knight has emerged, and of course is challenging Roman Reigns this weekend. There's 2 right there, 2 full-time stars that are on TV every single week that are pure-cut baby faces. They have some edge to them. Right, they have some edge to them. They're not that white meat baby face as the terminology would go, but they are baby. There's no. I hate the freaking term tweener. There's no debating. Are they a tweener? Are they the anti-hero? No, they are baby faces. They're kissing baby, shaking hands. When they're at the live events, we have 2 of them right now. 2 that are very interesting that people are debating who should be, if either, who should be and who's going to dethrone Roman Reigns in his historic run. I cannot recall the last time WWE legitimately had 2 baby faces like that to debate over. It's been a long time.
It's a great point, because there was a point in time when it came to the WWE that we may not have even had one. We were having a conversation that we were never going to see another John Cena or The Rock because the brand is bigger than one superstar. But here we are. And you know what? Like, he's already a champion. But you could throw Seth Rollins in the mix, too, of like 3 huge babyface wrestlers that the fans absolutely love. And now you can argue over which one is the biggest star and what's the hottest star right now. But you're absolutely right when it comes to LA Knight and Cody Rhodes, Justin. Like, that's the debate. Like, I'm on Team Cody. A lot of people are on Team LA Knight right now. But which one of those stars? And I think, Justin, that goes a long way in what we're going to see tomorrow. All eyes are going to be on LA Knight tomorrow about whether he can take that next step, or is this where he takes that step back and Cody Rhodes emerges as we get closer to WrestleMania.
Well, and that is the biggest question for me of how they get out of this. And when I say get out of it, meaning like how do they execute booking, entertain everybody, send everybody home, satisfied but still wanting more? Is no, I don't think LA Knight's leaving Saudi Arabia as the new champion. I don't think he's, for a lot of reasons. I think it's still a little too quick in terms of his approach to Roman Reigns and the story. I also just don't. I mean, the Saudi shows are great for the country and for and they're great spectacles, but I just don't feel like something like that happening on this kind of a show. I feel like if they're gonna have Roman Reigns dethroned after this crazy run, I feel like it's gonna be on one of WWE's bedrock shows. Survivor Series, Rumble, Mania, SummerSlam. I just don't, that's just me, but I also don't think just because if LA Knight doesn't beat Roman this weekend, I don't think that means he's to the back of the line. I still think there's going to be a want there from the crowd. I think if they can book this properly to where LA Knight just gets highway robbed, you leave people wanting more and still feeling like, hey, this guy could still be the guy. I mean, it's harder to do than what I'm saying. They have to do it right, but I do trust that they can do it right, and I do feel that there's enough pieces around around all participants that they can make this happen.
Can I interject here?
Of course.
Some of your conversation, most of your conversation leads me just down a different path where I want you to think. WWE is super blessed right now when you talk about over baby faces. Yes, Cody. Yes, LA Knight. Jey Uso is up in that conversation.
Yep.
Sami Zayn is in that conversation. You also have Kevin Owens, who's not been back wrestling yet. Yes, you have John Cena, you have Rey Mysterio. They are blessed with over baby faces, and Seth Rollins being your champ, where if you really think about Seth, who's been key to all of this because he got a made up title over. People really want to see him defend this title that I don't even think has been around a year. So Seth has been a key cog in all of this to, hey, they're fighting for this title. When you go the LA Knight route, people are on that bandwagon, and rightfully so. He's so entertaining. I agree with Justin with Roman Reigns. If he's going to lose it, it has to be at WrestleMania to endorse who's going to be the next Roman Reigns. I was looking at the card. Another big thing where we're also talking about, there's 8 women on the Saudi show.
Yeah.
If you remember early Saudi shows, hey, no women. So I'm talking about progress and progress being made, just like what Seth Rollins has been doing with that title. But a bigger progress is culturally, where we talk about pop culture. We have 8 women being represented in Saudi Arabia, and where it's becoming a norm for this to happen in a country where that's not normally happening. And then I was also just looking up, when you say about the use of veterans, where you don't have to rely on that. I was looking at one of my favorite teams of all time, the 96 Yankees, because I want to remember who was on that. People who sat on the bench because they were older players: Tim Raines, Darryl Strawberry, Cecil Fielder, because they had young Jorge Posada, Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettitte, Derek Jeter, all the core 4, Bernie Williams, where these guys sat back and didn't play in this World Series as much. You know why? Because let the stars go, because these guys are in their prime. And that's why they were one of the greatest teams of all time. So I agree 100% with this conversation, but just wanted to point out a lot of really, really cool things that the WWE is doing, especially with these Crown Jewel. And I know travel is always a bitch, but when you get to perform in front of a crowd like that, and a very, very appreciative crowd, Crown Jewels have always kicked ass, and they've been really, really good shows. So I'm expecting one on Saturday.
I totally agree with that. I think, and like Justin said earlier, this is really like probably the best example of a show that's really going with the current storylines. It's not just a standalone show. This could be a premium live. It is, a premium live event for fans. And Thunder, I know you're super excited because what Tommy just said as well is that now women are being represented on this show, because the first show in Saudi, they weren't able to have any women on the show at all.
You know that there was so much going on that in that show, and I remember we were having a conversation and where some of the talent were kind of like boycotting it too, because they were not letting women go. And I remember that was a big controversy. But now it's like I'm looking at, the makeup, and it's pretty diverse too. You're just not having like a certain type of people just going. You have pretty much a lot of representation in this roster. And it was, it's just so nice to see when you see advancements in different things. But now you see that people are coming in together for the company. And I don't know if it's the bookers over there or whoever they're asking, like they're changing their mind too and going with the flow, that is making this more, direct to what's happening on TV. That's one of the questions, Justin, I was gonna ask you. Like, do you think that the Saudis are like, we kind of like what's going on TV. This is now what we would like to support you bringing this, and there's continuity, or like WWE said, guys, so we're heading to this show and this show. We would like to have this, and we have this, because before it was different. Like, what do you think? It's now we have this to see this big change.
No, it's a great question. I've always wondered exactly. We know that there's obviously influence from Saudi Arabia. And we've seen, when they did like the one of the great battle royals or Royal Rumbles, whatever they called it, and Mansoor won, and he was WWE's audience did not know who he was, but he won because he was Saudi Arabian. So like we know that there's been some influence, but to the point of the women, Thunder, I don't know. That's a great question. I would think you had the one match wrapped around Rhea Ripley, who I think if WWE just communicates to them and says, look, this is one of our most polarizing talents. man or woman, she gets some of the biggest reactions at every city we go to. I don't know where she's at in the merch, but from what I can see in the crowd, it looks like she's selling some shirts of all the different variations of her mommy shirts. So, I mean, I would just think that at this point, Saudi, would trust WWE to like, look, we're going to, now that we've broken in the barrier, now that we've had several women's matches over the years, that shouldn't be a question anymore. We know we can have women on the show. I would think that they would just trust WWE to bring to bring the biggest bang for the buck. And you if you're going to do that, how do you not have Rhea Ripley and company on the show? But I agree. I love the diversity, and not just Thunder, not just the diversity of what we're seeing of the women that are going to be on a show in Saudi Arabia, and we're culturally progressing things. But just look at a show in the States. I love how diverse WWE has gotten with, once upon a time, if you were going to be a female on camera in WWE, you were going to be a certain height, of a certain look, of a certain hair color, and now all shapes, sizes, and colors. And I think that's really cool to see that they've expanded that in their roster.
If
I
you
mean, I
remember,
think.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Tommy.
If you remember the early press conference that Triple H said, it's kind of like, and this is why you got to trust the process. At times, it does work and it does get over, because from the first Crown Jewel, and Dave, if you remember, sometimes they would just kind of like slot it in, like, hey, we have this pay-per-view, but oh, by the way, we have this Crown Jewel. Now, yes, everything is garnered towards that, but it's and Thunder talked about it, about changing culture and changing, it's not even pop culture, it's changing the way people think, where it's more acceptable for the biggest thing is women for coming there. I mean, you also think about it, we're not in the most peaceful times in the world, and for an event like this to happen is very, very cool, because it does try to, maybe try to open up people's minds, or like coming together, like change can happen. So it's a cool event. But if you really think about going back, because they had a lot of slack and heat because they were going there, and it was like, oh, you're taking all this blood money, all that stuff. But then, it has been working for what they've been doing. And, you've seen boxing going on over there. You just recently saw Undertaker and Vince sitting. So there's been a lot of, because they want that mainstream entertainment in their country. They have the money for it, and they want this mainstream entertainment, because they paid a lot of money for it.
And not just Taker, not just Taker and Vince sitting there. Taker, Vince, Mike Tyson, and Eminem. What a start to a great walk into a bar joke. Vince,
that is
Mike Tyson and Eminem walk into a bar.
But also, to your point, Tommy and Thunder and Justin, like Vince McMahon said, this is our home now. Like, he actually said, this is our home when he was being interviewed. Like, I think, we always talk about it that, we get so caught up in, ratings and attendance. Pro wrestling is global, especially the world of the WWE is global. One last thing, Justin, before we let you go, and thanks for coming on this morning, as always. You don't think there's going to be a change with that undisputed WWE Universal Championship, but I actually think we are going to see a title change hands tomorrow, and I think it's going to be that United States Championship. I really feel like Logan Paul is going to beat Rey Mysterio tomorrow. Do you think we're going to see a title change tomorrow, Justin?
I do. That would be the title change as well for me. I do. I think, obviously, Rey Mysterio does not need it. And Logan Paul has proven in the WWE world that he can win the title, and he will then defend. He can defend it. He has proven that he can go in the ring. So I think Logan Paul, the heat magnet that he is, walking around saying that he is now the champion of the United States of America. I think there's so much potential where he can take that title. I mean, he's photographed everywhere he goes. He's recorded and podcasted everywhere he goes. Crazy following. So I absolutely think that would be best for business to have him beat one of the most lovable baby faces ever in pro wrestling, Rey Mysterio.
On the Saturday show, Denise and I brought up, and it was her, and it got a lot of traction. She thought of Logan Paul beating Rey and then doing Logan Paul versus LA Knight at either the Rumble or WrestleMania. And if you want to take LA Knight and keep him on, not win the title, but then how you get him to that next level, and then having LA Knight with the secondary title in the company, can really continue his momentum, whether it's at the Royal Rumble, which would be a marquee matchup, take him out of the Rumble, doesn't need to be in it so he doesn't have to not win it, but then puts him in a marquee match. Or if you try to extend it to WrestleMania, those are some big ass matches.
I love it.
There's gonna be a lot of pissed people, I can tell you that. A lot.
But you know what? That's what you want him there for. That's
Thunder.
Dude,
Damn,
like
man.
you think about it.
You know, David, it's just like I was reading an article and it's like him and his brother, they're being blamed from like destroying boxing. So this is a perfect time for him to win a championship.
Destroy
they're like, now they're
wrestling
gonna destroy
too.
wrestling too. You know, so just saying.